Hey, well, guess what? I'm still flying solo here in the studio. We'll have to wait and see if Scott's going to show up. But because we have like a 10-minute window where if we don't start the show, that like Facebook nukes it and all that other stuff. So I figured I had to get this thing started because otherwise there might not be a show. So I hope everybody's doing well on this Saturday afternoon or morning, wherever you are, evening. But I'm well. We have 24 artworks all lined up. No Legion artwork, Margaret, just so you know. I think I told you that the other day. But it's good to see you here. I thought we could ask Scott if he had any Legion artwork that he could maybe bring to his next show. Is that, I see a Simic 108. Is that Shane? Yeah, so I've got some stuff. I actually had artwork. I previewed everything in the email earlier today and on Friday, and it turned out there were actually 6 other pieces that were not in the set of scans he sent me when I finally, because remember everything was wrapped. So I unwrapped everything last night, and I'm like, there's more pieces here than I got scans of. So I ended up having to reach out to him and get the pricing on them. But so I've got an actual another cover that wasn't in the set. I have a page from Wolverine. I have a page or 2 pages from a Marvel team up page, a Spider-Man page. Gosh, what were the other pieces? Oh, a sketch, like a head sketch piece of Scarlet Witch and a few other things too. So some stuff that wasn't in the mailing that I'm sure would interest, especially people on the Marvel side of things. The one cover was a DC cover, but it's a Superboy cover, and pretty good too. But I've been getting reports like everybody else on New York Comic Con. Everything sounds like it's going pretty well over there. Any OAX news while we wait, Bill? Gosh, I'll tell you. I was talking with somebody earlier today about OAX and what's going on there. Just some pretty. It's going to be a show unlike any other. I mean, people are like trying to draw comparisons of OAX to Como and Comic Art Con and what Bashar does, and and then sprinkle in Heroes and anything else. And I just don't think it's going to be like that at all. It's going to be a very unique comic art fans / Comic Art Live experience. We've got today, this afternoon, I actually have George Pratt and the art restoration woman, Alexandra Von Hawk, coming over here, and she did some work for George, and so we're George is getting the artwork back, so we'll be shooting some video of that probably and taking some pictures. But I'm going to talk to Alexandra about doing a panel. I mean, I want to kind of craft some of the panels to be collector focused, right? We're so used to going to shows and let's hear Walt Simonson or Frank Miller talk about their careers or whatever they've been working on, and you could do that anywhere, right? I mean, almost anywhere. But trying to create some content for the panels that. Sorry, I actually got an email from Scott here. He says he needs 15 minutes. So I can, I guess we could talk. And then when he gets in, I will, I'll just end up trimming all this stuff out for this actual show. But so, like I said, we're going to put some content together that's very collector focused. Jeff Wedding's in the audience. I don't know if I'd want to have Jeff up there with Alexandra, because one's talking about proper storage, another one's talking about art restoration. But I think that those will interest the artists in the room, right? At the end of the day, having conversations like that on panels. So, so we're working on that. Kazra got to have a video conference with some interesting people the other day as well. People in Florida who are very excited that the show is coming in, the art collectors. And so I think, as everybody knows, we're going to be doing an Adam Kubert gallery there of artwork that people have never seen before from Adams. Wolvie Fan is going to have a small gallery there as well. But we might actually have a couple other galleries of art that are going to blow people's minds, I think. And so, I mean, it's not, I can't commit to it, but those are the kinds of experiences that you're going to get at OAX that just aren't going to happen anywhere. And I was even speaking to an artist who is a guest, who is going to be bringing some artwork from a very special project that they worked on in the past, that they've kept the artwork for themselves, probably for their retirement or whatever. But they're going to be bringing that, and that'll probably be that'll be a part of an announcement. This artist has this art there. Probably not for sale, but I bet many people would be interested in seeing it. And so yeah, everybody's kind of coming up with their own unique ways to make the show all the more interesting. And cool, Jeff. I will actually talk with her today. She's going to be here in less than 2 hours. And just so you know, Scott says he thought it was 3 EST, but that's okay. He said he needs about 10 minutes, so he'll be here soon. But yeah, I'll talk with her about it, so folks could walk in and offer. Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly, Jeff. I mean, this first show is probably going to be a big learning experience for us all, and how to kind of get everybody to interact well, and have we set up the tables and areas for collectors to hang out and chat well, and we're going to learn a lot. But I think just make year 2 all the better. But first year is going to be pretty neat. As far as guest announcements, can I really announce anybody right now? Not really. We've got 2 reps that we're talking to that I think we will finalize whom from their groups are coming. We should be able to finalize that next week, I'm sure by next Friday. So I'd like to think that by next Friday's mailing, we'll have a few more artists to talk about. And I can't promise pre-con stuff from anybody new that we're announcing, because we're getting kind of close to the window where we probably don't want to do that, but we'll see. I think we'll probably we have more pre-con stuff to announce. Hopefully next week. I know for sure next week we've got at least 1, if not 3 people that we'll be talking to, and before the end of October, I can guarantee you, there'll be one bigger name who's been on the show before a few times, not taking commissions, of course, but we'll be doing something pre-con-ish as well. Let's see. Beyond that, no, I don't have a whole lot of OAX news that I can talk about. It's all good, though. It's all very good. I've been talking with, Anthony's been sending me photographs from New York Comic Con regularly. So is Mike. Mike's been having it sounds like sales are kind of average over there right now. Mike didn't sound like his sales were very large, not but not like high volume. He said he didn't make any sales on Thursday night, first night of the show, didn't have any sales. Things didn't start happening for him until Friday. But I can see that Mr. Kolins is in the green room, so we're going to get this thing started. Will there be method? I don't know about that, number 1 Marvel fan, but we'll see. Let me bring Scott in and we'll get things started. Hey, Scott, how are you doing?
Hello.
It's nice to meet you. Sorry we got our times crossed. I apologize.
No, that's all my fault. It's all because of the move and everything that's going on over here. My movers showed up today, so I just spent an hour now loading boxes and moving everything around.
Oh, so are you, is it a long distance move that you've got going on here?
That was a long distance move.
Oh, so are you at where you're staying? Is this your new home, or are you moving from this place?
This is where I'm going to be for a while, as I equal things out and recalibrate everything going on.
Okay, well, congratulations. I think.
Thank you. Yep.
Where what state are you based in, or what country are you based in? I don't even know where you're at, Scott.
I was in Arizona when we formulated all these plans, but now I'm in the state of Wisconsin, backed by some family and friends.
Okay. Well, it's cold. It's going to be cold up there. I don't know if you've.
I'm from this region, so I know full well how bad it can get. I know,
right.
But I am going from the extremes. I'm going from the Arizona heat to the Wisconsin cold. So.
Well, hey, I grew up in Northeast Ohio, so and I moved down to Florida here just over a year ago. But
there you go.
Yeah, I won't go back. I definitely I'm very happy in the warmer temperatures, and the older I get. And the thing is, I think I think we're about the same age. You're 68?
67.
67. Okay. Well, then you're a little older than I'm 68. So
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you made it. And, we've got, I really didn't prep anybody. We've got 24 pieces of art that we're going to look at. And I was kind of surprised to get the extra 6 that, because I didn't get that email from Jim the other day. So because I was going through the art and I'm like, I never saw this before. Where'd that Wolverine page come from? So that was a pleasant surprise. So nobody's gotten to see that. I usually like to preview the artwork just to let people know what's coming. I don't price it or anything like that, but I like to put it in the emails just to give people an idea, what's coming. So
absolutely,
that was nice. And I have to ask you, because well, one thing I should tell you is I don't know if do you have the chat set up so you can see the chat stream on the right hand side?
I'm just finding it now. Yes.
Okay, good. That would have been something I would have had you look at the beginning.
Do I have
But
to?
but Margaret in the chat, she is a big Legion of Superheroes fan, and we never have Legion of Superheroes art. If we ever have you on a show in the future, do you have any? I mean, I know you worked on Legion for a while.
I did. Most of it I have sold over the years now.
Yep.
I think I do have some things left.
Okay. Well,
And
I just figured I'd ask
because
because
that kind of stuff.
I regularly disappoint Margaret. She's bought a few things in the last 3 years, but it's always like when she knows an artist is coming on that has worked on her favorite book. She always asks, and I'm like, well, it's not in this one, but maybe in a future one.
So. Oh, if I would have known, sorry about that, Margaret. I definitely would have tried to pick something out, or if I look for something anyway.
All right. Well, sometime later on. But so yeah. Scott, let's talk about you. Let's give me the scoop on you, since we're the same age. I mean, that means I know you broke into comics early in the 90s. Was it always the goal to get into the narrative arts in some way, or how did you kind of end up in the position you are today?
Yeah, I mean, I was one of those that I started drawing when I was 7 years old or whatever, when I was first reading and buying comics and all that kind of stuff. I quickly got into that frame of mind of doing that. And then I was lucky enough around 6th grade, 7th grade, somewhere in there. On my paper route, I ran across another fan who was a college student. We have a college in my hometown. And he also had comic books. In fact, he wanted giving me his old comics at one point because he just didn't want them anymore. And he knew of a guy that went to actually his church, I believe was the full story, who was a comics artist and lived in my hometown. His name was Dennis Jensen, for those who really know comic book trivia. And as the odd synchronicity of, this side, as it would happen, he was inking The Flash when I met him. And in fact, he was inking those the last couple of years or so of Carmine working on The Flash. So I got to see at that point in time Carmine pencils and everything going on, and to see what he was doing with the stuff and how he was inking it and all those things. Anyway, there were a bunch of us kids that found out about this poor one freelancer that was in town. So we just all started bombarding his house. And we quickly decided the best way to do it so this man could actually get his work done was to form a club. So we started heavily doing that around my junior high school years, which was a really good introductory idea to the course of, figuring this stuff out. Mm-hmm. But then even during all of that, high school kids, sometimes they're not going to be that serious. And I still hadn't figured out how serious I was going to be. But once I knew of Dennis, I knew that it was a real job. I knew it was a real thing. I could tell my mom and dad, hey, look, this is a thing. I could actually do this for a living in the future. I'm not just, wasting my time with all these doodles and sketchbooks or whatever. And then I tried the university in my hometown with their art program, but they really didn't have anything that was geared towards what I wanted to do. So a friend and I, also from high school, we both took the big plunge. We went to the Kubert School out east. And that was in 1989. And within 2 years of being at that school, and then really just living and breathing, drawing comic books, practically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because that's one of the best things that the Kubert School did for us at the time was they gave you worked all the hours of the day when you were there that you were drawing. There really weren't many lectures per se. It was just assignments and sort of, some explanations of some ground rules or whatever. And then we just had tons of homework too. So after you finished a full day of school of drawing, you basically had to go back to your apartment or wherever you're staying with and do another, 4 hours of drawing at home at night, and then drawing during the weekend and everything else. So it was sleeping and it was drawing, which really got me prepared for freelance lifestyle, which is pretty much the same thing.
Right.
So I did that for 2 years. And during those 2 years, one of the other giant benefits of the Kubert School was that one of their prerequisites was all of their teachers had to be working in the business, at least somewhat related to the subject that they taught. So I wound up with several professionals who worked flat out in comic books. The first one I had was Kim DeMulder.
Oh, wow.
Who was mostly an inker, but he's a fabulous artist in his own right. And in fact, the buddy of mine that we went to the Cubert School with, he and I both wound up within a few months of working or studying at the Cubert School, starting to do backgrounds for Kim in his books. He hired us on right away.
That's great.
Yeah, so we got to work and do all that kind of stuff and get used to the rigmarole and erasing pages after they've been inked and all these crazy things you have to do all the time.
Were they assignments, or did you actually get a few dollars here or there?
Trying to think if he paid us or what the deal was. I mean, we really didn't care. We were so excited to be helping out.
I'd be just happy to be putting some ink on paper that was going to get published, right?
That was the thing, was that it was a big, learning curve for us, because then we quickly got to learn of like, oh, right, if this guy only gave Kim kind of the layout of a building or whatever, because he was often working over breakdowns.
Okay.
He was much more of a finisher than just an inker. I'm very sorry, inkers. I love inkers. So we would have to work with those things going, okay, this is building. All right, well, now we have to finish the bricks, or we have to put in the window in a nice way, and not just the box or whatever. And we had to finish those things. And there was a lot of learning to that, and figuring that stuff out. So I had Kim DeMolder the first year working on stuff, and he was absolutely fabulous. One of my favorite teachers at the school. And then I was extremely lucky my second year of the school, a name that more of you will recognize, although he still doesn't work around too much these days, was Bart Sears.
Oh, right.
Bart Sears taught at the school, I think, for just a year or two. And I was in that lucky group that got him as a teacher. And things were going well enough with him during my assignments and everything during the school year that he arranged for my first meeting then up with the DC editor to get my first critique, which was then, since we're just dropping names left and right, but this is how it went. It was with Archie Goodwin.
Oh, wonderful.
And Archie was absolutely spectacular. I'm sure I annoyed the heck out of him with my questions and everything else going on, and my samples were absolutely terrible. But he gave me some of the best advice that I had too, out of anybody that I would have shown stuff to. Originally, my pages were, as Archie put it, all over the place. I was so into the idea that I was learning how to draw the figure from any angle and the backgrounds from any angle and all this kind of stuff. So I was constantly, for no particular reason, shooting a down shot of, somebody running down an alley or whatever they were doing. And the next one's in between branches and it's doing this and all these complex, silly shots for no good reason. So Archie's like, slow it down, just put in some regular panels, let me see what's going on, and then save the special ones for like once in a while. Once when something's cool is going on, then you put in the crazy angle or something cool going on. Anyway, a lot of great storytelling advice that way and some other stuff. And that's where it all kind of led to, is then after the second year of school, I was also extremely fortunate, not only Marvel and DC hiring like crazy, because that was during the boom, but Valiant was brand new at that point. And that was actually the next thing that happened, was some of my other fellow students at the Cubert School got hired at Valiant. And this is when, they had been doing some other stuff, but I think there'd only been like 2 issues or 3 issues of Magnus that were out. This is very early on. I don't even know if Solar 1 had even come out yet, or those backups. Anyway, they got hired and Valiant was looking for more people. They were expanding. And they hired me too. Although, that didn't last too long. It lasted for about a month. But again, it just, the one thing leads to another. Then I worked in-house at Marvel as a Ramita Raider for a while, and then started getting the freelance work.
So wait, as a what? I didn't catch that.
Called the Ramita Raider.
Oh, the Ramita Raiders. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you said Reader Raiders, and I was like, wait a minute. I've not heard that before. I've heard of Ramita Raiders before, though. Yeah. So what was that like? Who were your compatriots at that point?
Who were the other guys in that room? John Kalis was in there, and he's a colorist these days. Frank Percy was in there. He was mostly an inker, I think, for a while. Most of the other guys that were in there at the time are not actually, I don't think, still doing comics. I mean, I have made it a long while, and not many of the people last as long as I
haven't heard. I mean, I have heard that before from a few people, but I don't think during any of the creator interviews I've done has anybody mentioned that. So you might be the only Ramita Raider that I've ever had on the show.
Oh, really?
So what was that like, though? I mean, as an experience, getting to work in that kind of a group environment within within there? I mean, what was it like?
It was super cool. I got to go work up at the Marvel offices every day. So beyond the fact that it was one of the Valiant guys that sent me over there when my Valiant job was over, they sent me to John Romita. So I did the interview with John Romita. Holy cow.
Yeah.
He liked my stuff, said, yeah, great. You can be hired. You're probably going to make it a couple months because you're going to get freelance work soon. But sure, if you want to come in here and do this, absolutely great. And then it was just a matter of sitting on an office that was 2 doors down from John. And editors would constantly walk in with whatever page, whatever thing going on, or they'd run it past. There was another guy, Steve Geiger, who was the assistant art director at the time. And he had done various art projects, I think, for a while during that time, but I don't think he's still around anymore either, in comics anyway. Either them or the editor would come in saying, here, look, Captain America's boot is wrong. It's got this. They forgot the heel of the boot. They forgot the cuff. They drew Captain America's glove on, Nova or something goofy going on. And that's usually what it was, is that we'd wind up pasting something over the original artwork and doing a correction to fix it to whatever the editor agreed was going, needed to be there. Including one of the things we often did was Marvel was producing a lot of those poster books at the time, where they were taking the pinups of a Jim Lee or whoever was around and turning it into just a book of just posters, just pinups.
Right.
So a lot of times there were covers they were giving us where there was the corner UPC corner box that was left out of the artwork. And for those poster books, they'd want us to fill that in with whatever the background was, or if it was a leg of the character that was, going in that direction, whatever it was. So it was neat stuff. And then, of course, it allowed me to be able to just walk around the offices, whenever I wasn't doing a specific job. I could harass every editor that was within walking distance of the office, of handing them samples, talking to them, seeing what's going on, seeing if they got, an annual coming up or something that I could work on.
How do they pay you? I mean, because obviously that's not like a page rate when you're, fixing things and that sort of thing.
No, the rater job was just an hourly wage, which was not great as I remember, but I somehow lived off of it for those 3-4 whatever months that I did it.
Mm-hmm.
So we did. It was also like they told us it was an encouragement that from time to time would not only would be doing those fixes, but there'd be jobs that what do they call it? They were more marketing jobs, I think. So sometimes I was drawing the front of a comic book store, or drawing a Marvel poster that would be in the front of a comic book store, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd pick up little freelance jobs here or there. And those were sweet because marketing or other advertising kind of work now and forever, that stuff always pays 5 times better than comics or other regular jobs.
That's why so many people wanted to just, use comics as their springboard to get the heck out of it, right?
A lot of people did. Yeah, absolutely.
But you stuck with it.
I have. I mean, it's one of those things where when I was raised with all those guys, I mean, eventually I learned in kind of backwards of the Jack Kirbys and the Alex Toths or whatnot of those guys, or even back to the Alex Raymonds or whatnot. But, I was raised on the John Byrne and George Perez guys. So, and all the guys of that ilk, Sal Buscema and everybody else. So my attitude was, well, you got into comics to work on a monthly book. That was the holy grail. That's really what you went there for. And if you could be smart enough and lucky enough, then you really could be a Jack Kirby or a John Byrne or whoever, and you'd write and draw your own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That to me was even the pinnacle of all that stuff. But, as why a lot of people wind up moving on from it, it's a lot of work. It is a whole lot of work day in and day out, and there's no excuses for getting sick or holidays or anything else.
Right. No, I've that's the same story I hear from everybody, but you have to love it if you want to get into it. And I mean, clearly for you to be working in the business 30 years later, I mean, that's what you want to do. And I think that's great. And, it was kind of cool. I talked with a couple other collectors kind of about your style, and everybody always brings up your pencils, how, it's like, they're so distinct. You have a line that almost doesn't need to be inked. What, has that style always been with you, or is it something that you've kind of refined over the years, maybe as the technology in comics and print has changed?
A little bit of both. Since around the time of the Kubert School, there were times when to be a little bit unkind. You would have various students in there. Most of the other students like had barely graduated high school when they came to the Kubert School. I'd had a couple of years of college or other stuff under my belt, and I'd had all that backing time already working with dentists and stuff. So I had at least a basic grasp of some of the problems that you'd have to do and basic idea of anatomy and stuff. But back to this point is, I learned through my assignments at the Kubert School, because quite often at the school, you'd wind up penciling a job, and then the finishing of that job was like, all right, everybody hand your pages to the guy to the left. And then that person would ink it or whatever we do. And, I kind of got advice from several of the teachers at the time going like, whatever, if you were unhappy with what that inker had done with after this or whatever going on, the way to deal with that as best you can is to give them less choices to pick of how they were going to feather this or handle that or render that hair or that water or any sort of special things going on. The cleaner, the tighter you can make it. Often it's better for an editor to see at that time because they could just understand exactly what it was going to look like. But then often it would also just help for at least the beginning conversation between you and an inker, so the inker would know that you're looking for. So it started out of that. So even when I was showing people my samples early on, my first few years, and the samples would have been photocopies, they were looking at the photocopies. They're going, I thought you were a penciler, because they would assume that it had already been inked when they saw those finished photocopies. So part of that came natural, part of that whole system. And then, by the time I was already on Flash and doing other jobs, my pencils were pretty much spot on exactly how I do them. In fact, I think you have some, I sent some roughs, some prelim artwork, which became part of my system starting at the Kubert School, where I would work out all my problems on the prelim art on this page underneath. And then I would lightbox and finish it. So the finished page would be very clean. There wouldn't be scribble notes or any of this, redraws on the same piece of paper to confuse an inker or whoever I might work with. But by the time that I had finished the Flash and was moving on to the Marvel work, that was around the time then scanners and everything were becoming a lot more popular. And I knew other people that were doing that. And there were some people that already had published jobs. I think John Romita Jr. and some other people had already had some books that were published that were just scanned off their pencils. So then I started doing that. So most of the stuff, I don't know how much of your stuff that you have there that I sent with. A bunch of it is still just in pencil form, because for the longest time out of my career, at least more than half of my career now, it's just been the super tight pencil has been the finished product. I scan the computer, I clean a couple things, maybe clean up the border or something like that. If I need to add a special effect or something with a space background or something, I might add that. But 90% of it would be just right there in that finished pencil.
Very cool. Well, in some of these pieces, you might have to tell me, because I had to look really close. I'm like, all right, I just went from this Marvel Team Up page, which I can tell is pencils, and then I go to this, another one, and I'm like, I can't tell. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's ink, but it's too close. So I'll need your help on a couple of them, I'm sure.
Well, and I've switched around a little bit too. These last couple of years now, since about King Shark, every once in a while I try something that's a little bit different. I forget if you have some tonal pages, pencil tonal pages in there.
The Wolverine page is a tonal.
Is it?
Piece.
Yeah. Okay. Then I did send that to you. So I tried that for a few years, where I just tried on the Wolverine's a special deal. We can talk about that. But there was Omega Flight, Citizen Cold, Justice Society, a couple of different runs of books where I was doing that pencil style with smudging. And part of that was just an experiment to see if I can, try something different, and also surprise an editor and handing something different, make them think of me in a different way for a different book or something, or just shake myself out of, you get in a comfort zone, especially if you're drawing every day and you're drawing these superheroes, and sometimes you're drawing the same kind of battle scenes all the time, or the apartment's the same kind of thing or whatever. I keep trying to make the jobs as unique as possible as I work on them. But by doing this every day and pumping these pages out and keeping schedules going and all that kind of stuff, you can't help but fall into certain systems that work for you, going, oh, well, everybody likes this, so I'm going to keep doing it this way. But anyway, to change it again recently with King Shark and some other jobs for DC and some other stuff recently, I've taken up these other pens. So I use these Faber-Castell Pitt artist pens. I don't know if the camera's going to focus. But
So that's what you used on the King Shark?
yeah, so I use a lot of these. They come in different widths and sizes. They're still like an India ink, so it's almost like you're using the old pen and brush,
Right.
which I used to use in the old days too. But they're a lot easier to just kind of play around with, and it almost, and sometimes it can still almost feel like a pencil to me because it does have that marker feel. It doesn't give too much, so I can get some of the both worlds, best of both worlds to me. I can get a little bit of that ink brush pen feel, and then I can still almost get my scratchy, gritty pencil look that I think generally works for my stuff.
Right. Well, the King Shark page was the one I had to look at closely because
And that's one
it's
with
very
the
similar
new
to the pencil only pieces, but yeah, and I did figure that one out, but I had to look at it a couple times because I'm like, it follows your style very well, so I can see why if those tools definitely work well for you.
Cool.
So it's we see on your back wall you've got the Flash and you have Captain America. You've worked for both Marvel and DC on a lot of different projects and titles over the last 30 years. I mean, there's some projects that you're in or characters that you haven't tackled yet that are on your bucket list. I mean, you've got another 20 years at least in the business.
You're right. Keeping our fingers crossed. I mean, yeah, there's tons of stuff. I have worked on a lot. I've done Justice League and I've done Avengers and all that other kind of stuff too. I really haven't done much X-Men stuff. So that could be on the bucket list. There's actually a bunch of Kirby characters or whatnot that I really haven't done. Fantastic Four, same thing. There's about more stuff I guess I could point at Marvel since more of my career has wound up at DC. But there's tons of stuff at DC too, where even though people know up at the DC offices, they know that I'm absolutely crazy for anything Titans because of George Perez and anything of the Jack Kirby done over there, Fourth World stuff, Demon, OMAC, any of those things. I would kill to work on any of those things. In fact, just like 5-6 years ago, DC did that Kirby 100 deal where it would have been his 100th birthday. They knew that I had to be involved. They knew they had to find a book for me or I was going to come to the building and scare people. But the funniest part is that it kept jumping around what I was going to do. And I didn't necessarily care. Any and all of them were going to be cool. But it was between an OMAC story. I forget if they mentioned a Demon story for me as well, or a Dark Side story. And for the 3 weeks leading up to when I was supposed to start the job, the editor would call and say, "Oh, no, sorry, that's wrong. You're going to work on OMAC." Okay, cool. I'm ready to go. Hand me the script.
Give me the script.
A couple of days later, give me another call. "Oh, no, sorry, that one got it. It's going to be Dark Side." "Oh, terrible. Oh, that's rotten. I'm going to walk away. Come on. So, but it went around. It was hysterical. It was like 4 or 5 different times. So I got the job and I landed the dice on Dark Side when I finally got the script and everything. I'm like, okay, you can't take them away. I'm doing Dark Side. Leave me alone. And it was a blast. I had an absolute great time. Mark Evanier wrote the script. That was great.
Well, very fitting gentleman to do that. I mean, Mark's had a very long career. I've tried getting him on the show just to do interviews, but he's interviewed out. I think during the whole pandemic, he's done probably more live streams than I have. Just as that sort of thing. And he politely has turned me down a couple times I've asked him, but I hope to get him on. I mean, the guy's worked with so many people in the business, and I'm sure has a lot of stories that our followers would be very interested in hearing.
Tons of stories. I've been on a couple of panels with him at conventions as well about Kirby or whatnot going on. And yeah, he's got a million stories.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to keep working on him. Once a year, I'll ask him. One of these years, he'll let me do it.
There you go.
Let's see. Emilio said that you did a sick sketch cover of a Spider-Man villain Kindred a few years back for them. Very cool.
I did. I remember that one. I think that might have been the only time I drew him, the Kindred character. That was a cool one.
Very nice. Nice to have you. I don't think Emilio's been in a chat before, so they're here for you today, Scott. That's awesome.
Thanks for showing up.
So what do you think of New York Comic Con's this weekend, right? So obviously you're not there, and
Right.
but you've been set up at shows before. I mean, is it when you go to a con? I mean, what's your mindset? Is it really are you looking forward to doing characters maybe that you haven't drawn before, like in that case, or what do you usually get people to come in and ask for your most common characters? Like, do you get the Flash or Flash villain? Yeah,
Sure. Yeah, most of the regulars show up. A Flash related character, a villain, or something like that will generally show up, or an Avengers or something like that. Those are kind of the two big ones that I've known for. Occasionally, someone will come up with one of the other books I've done, like Salman Grundy or something like that, which is cool. But yeah, then all of a sudden I'll get somebody else. Like for one of the next cons I'm doing in just a couple of weeks. Somebody asked for a Mephisto.
Oh, well,
I've never drawn Mephisto before. I'm going to have so much fun drawing that Mephisto. It's great.
That sounds awesome. So what show are you going to be at?
This show is also going to be one of the farthest that I've done around the world. This is going to be in Malta.
Oh, wow.
So just off that southern tip of Italy, I'm going to be flying for a day and a half or 2 days or whatever it is to go and do that show. So, and it's my first one doing one in the Mediterranean like that. Well, actually, that's not true. I did a convention in Valencia a couple years back, and that was on the Mediterranean coast. But yeah, no, it should be a good time. I'm very excited to go.
That's great. So it was an invite, I assume, or is this a vacation for you?
I wish it was a vacation. No, this was an invite, and I wish I had extra time to go and hang out there longer than the convention time that we're already doing. But as it turns out, no, I've got to rebuild my studio all around me that's in shambles.
Oh yeah, that's true. You do have a lot of work ahead of you.
Yeah.
We got another Nuke Simic said Scott Strawn Kestrel for me at a con. So
I remember that one too. I haven't drawn him many times either. Cool. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, very nice. So we've got a fair amount of artwork to look at, and I figure we might want to just go ahead and kind of jump into that, because I think there'll be a lot of things to talk about when we're looking at, especially the Flash artwork, because we have some artwork that's 20 years old that we've that you sent me, and some pieces that of course are more current. So
right.
I think that'll be fun. So so I'll just go ahead and do the spiel so everybody knows how we handle the art sale today. I've got a couple slides that I regularly show for everybody. Let's see, I get the first one up. Just as everybody knows, I do have all the art in hand. So the art will be shipping from here, CAF HQ. If claims are going to happen in the chat, all 24 lots have a number, obviously 1 through 24. So when you see a piece of artwork that you want to claim, go ahead and just type claim and the lot number in the chat. So claim and the number 1 if you want the first lot. Real simple. A lot of people, especially if you're new to the show, a couple things I would advise you on is that if you're watching on YouTube in particular, there is a live button in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. Click that. That'll get you so you're as current as possible with both Scott and I and everybody else in the chat. Sometimes you'll join and you might be like 5 to 10 seconds behind everybody else. And of course, that doesn't bode well on being able to claim a piece of artwork if you're that far behind us. So clicking the live button works. Sometimes hitting refresh on the browser will do it too. But either way, it'll get you as close to current as possible. As far as payment goes, we like to get payment within 48 hours. We prefer Zelle and Venmo as options for that because we don't charge any fees for that. If you do need to use a credit card through PayPal, we do have a 4% US fee or a 5.5% international fee. I am also happy to take checks as long as you promise me you'll put it in the mail on Monday morning. We don't have any problem with that. Again, we don't like charging fees. We'd like to keep everything, fee-free around here. And then as far as shipping goes, none of the prices that you see today include shipping. Domestic shipping is $30, international shipping $65. I ship everything in Masonite, very well packed. And I can guarantee you that I haven't had any issues to date. Sometimes maybe gets lost in the mail for a day or two, but it always winds up, because the one thing I've learned is I put yellow tape around my packages, so there's no way somebody's going to miss a flat package sitting on a shelf in the back of a USPS truck or something. So I do everything I can to make sure they're not going to lose it that way.
That's a good trick. I should start using that.
Yeah, I had a friend tell me about that, an art rep who said he had a package get lost, and apparently it did turn up a year later, and they never gave him a reason, but he was like positive it had to have been, and he ships in Masonite too. He's like, I bet it was sitting on a flat shelf somewhere. Nobody saw it. They just kept putting things on it, taking it off. But and he's like, after that, I just decided I was always put something colorful on it. So when we wrap the art, do I have one in here? Oh yeah, actually I do. So this is what it looks like.
Oh, very nice.
Laying there, you're going to see that yellow, and I just feel better about it. It's and then the masonite just being so sturdy. There's two thicknesses of the masonite, and I actually buy the thicker one just to make sure. It costs like a little bit more, but the confidence I have when I ship stuff makes me sleep better at night when we're doing that. So, and then one thing I would tell everybody else too is if you're new to the show and you're doing this for the first time, everybody typically who've done these like to keep a notepad handy because you can claim something anytime. Maybe we get through all the flash art. You wanted to wait to see all the flash art that we're going to have, but you say, oh yeah, lot 8's a good one, lot 10's a good one, and then you wait till 15, and then you decide to claim lot 8. I mean, so you can claim things at any time, but it's always good to take notes. So because I can guarantee you, probably more than half of the people in the audience is taking notes as well. Black Viper and I'm not from the Omega Flight #1 cover. I know it's not being offered today.
No, it's not. And in fact, if I remember correctly, someone had already purchased that. I have a couple of them, but I'm pretty sure that one also got sold. And also someone else asked about Detective Comics 863. I believe I still have pages from that book, but it's not in today's list of stuff.
Oh, I saw that one too. Okay. Yeah. Well, again, that's something it's always good to know what people are interested in, so if and when we do this again, Scott, I think it's always, we did that with somebody. It was funny. I did that with an artist, and, believe it or not, we actually sold stuff right after the show because people were like, "I'd really like this. Does he have any of it?" And the guy's like, oh, "I've got the whole book, Bill. What do you want to wait 4 months, or do you want to just ask him what he wants?"
Right.
And so we worked that out. But anyways, these are always fun. So, but I can tell you the #1 Flash fan is at New York Comic Con today. Nick Ferrucci. I saw Marcus mention claim it all and flip it to Nick is because poor Nick, Nick Ferrucci from Dynamite. The Flash is one of his favorite characters, and he was lobbying for us to try to put this, do this another week. Can you do it another week? Just not New York Comic Con. So, and I've heard from everybody at New York Comic Con that the internet is absolutely terrible there. People can't even text an image off the floor.
Yeah.
So there's no way Nick Ferrucci is sitting in the Dynamite booth with his YouTube streaming today. But so there you have it, everybody. So we're gonna do 24 lots, and let's just get things started. And I don't really have a particular order in these. It's not high to low or anything. I did put you did 4 kind of illustration pieces that were kind of con sketch commission-y.
I try to put in a variety of stuff.
Yeah. So we're gonna start off with those, and let's see here. So we'll go ahead and take a look at lot #1. This is a 9x12 Dr. Doom head sketch, priced at $120. And I assume Copic markers on this one?
Correct. And the Faber-Castell ink markers for the line work. This is my general commission style of doing things, the headshots on this size or the figures or whatnot. But what you see there is generally what I try to do around any commissions that I do.
So 9x12 is probably like a standard for you at most shows when you're doing stuff.
9x12, and then a few. I bring 11x17 paper, but I don't do as many of those. I do most of the 9x12s.
Very good. Frank Robert Johnson, what is the price range today? Well, this is the low end. I can tell you 120 was the low end, and I forget what the flash cover is, but I know that was the higher price piece that we're going to be looking at today. But most things are, of the published work, I think is in the 5 or 6 range. Few pieces a little bit higher, but by and large in there. So Margaret Lee wants to know. Well, I'll talk with Scott. Probably doesn't even know what Comic Art Live is, Margaret, or maybe he does. But I will explain it to him so that he knows what it is. I mean, it's we do a virtual con ever since the the pandemic happened. May 2020, we started our first show. So we do 2 shows a year, one in May and one in November.
Okay.
And it's primarily a collector show. The collectors showing artwork that they have for sale, but artists have been kind of using it more and more as a platform to get some art out there. And we did, and it works out pretty good. I worked with Andy and Veronica Fish on the last show. They sold quite a bit of art, and worked with Adam and Allison on, they've exhibited numerous times, and but it's fun. And we thought, even though the pandemic's over, it's just worked out really well. The collectors just look forward to it. We get about 20,000 collectors that come to the site that weekend just to see what's there. And we kind of we don't force, but anybody who's exhibiting basically can have an art drop on Saturday and then a second art drop on Sunday. So it gives people a reason to come back both days. And
absolutely. That sounds great.
So, but we'll talk about it in the green room afterwards, just to give you some idea of what we can do. So the first lot is out there. That was a Dr. Doom. And next up, another 9x12 Scarlet Witch head sketch, priced at $120 as well. So you've worked on Scarlet Witch. I mean, obviously you had that Earth's Mightiest Heroes book that you worked on.
Correct. So, and she was also in the regular run. I did a bunch of monthly issues of Avengers as well, and she was in that, although her costume and whatnot had changed or different things going on. But yeah, some of the most fun I had was on those Earth's Mightiest Heroes. That was a really fun time of Avengers stories to be working on, because it was like year 1, year 2 stuff.
Got it. Yeah. No, well, this is the classic look that you want for Scarlet Witch, I think, at the end of the day. Yes, and people are asking about the number of pieces today. It is 24. There were only 18 in the email because I only had 18 scans at the time. I apologize. I thought about sending out an extra email with those 6 pieces in it, and then I'm like, we'll see. But yeah, I decided not to.
Right.
But it's all right. So that one's there. Now, let's see here. Black Panther in lot number 3. This is on 11x17, priced at $280. And Black Panther, have you worked on that? And in which books?
Actually, I have drawn Black Panther. Many eons ago, I did 2 issues of Excalibur. I'm trying to think I want to say I did something for Civil War that they asked me to draw Wakanda something. Just like a pinup or almost like a Marvel Universe handbook kind of page or something. But in the 2 issues of Excalibur Excalibur went to Wakanda, and I got to just go crazy drawing Black Panther. Although at that time we were trying to really have fun with it old school. I knew the inker. So he and I worked together on it, and I think I even helped him. We put Zipatone all over Black Panther on the panels that he was in. I really love that old effect on him where they would put Zipatone on him to get that gray effect and everything. Yeah. It was neat.
Well, this one's on 11x17, $280 for this one. And then we have a character that you're very well known for, the Flash, on 11x17 as well. So this one's at $300, and it's lot number 4. And it's the last of the commission related pieces that you did for the show. But again, there's probably no other character that you've drawn more, right, than the Flash.
No, yeah, he's the one I've drawn the most often. But it was also one of those things where, like that weird thing that I mentioned when I met Dennis early on, and he was a Flash artist, inking the Flash. When I got my first chance to do the Flash issue, I don't think I'd drawn him in anything else, and then the editor of Flash invited me to draw just 1 issue fill-in, and it was Wally's honeymoon. And while he was on honeymoon with Linda, a whole bunch of crazy escapades happened. But anyway, the point is, even on that fill-in issue that they gave me at the time, since I'd never drawn him before, I wasn't sure how the issue was going to go. Sometimes you need 3 months or something to really get a grasp on how the character is going to look or act or do all those different things. And drawing Wally and Linda and all that Flash stuff that I did on that issue, that just rolled off my pencil like butter. It was very easy. It happened very naturally. It felt very good at the time. And I had no expectations after that, but I was very happy when, just like a month or 2 later, the editor called me up and said, "Hey, do you want to do more Flash?" And I said, "Yes, I'd love to."
Well, that's cool. I mean, but you didn't know it going in that the Flash was going to be a character that felt right for you.
Had no clue, none at all. And I've always liked the Flash. I always thought that Flash was a cool character in the Justice League, or I remember collecting some of that stuff when I was a kid. But mostly I knew more of the Kid Flash and whatnot, and Wolfman and Perez's Teen Titans and those kind of things.
Right.
That was more my wheelhouse, if you wanted to say anything. But I really hadn't drawn much of any of that stuff before. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was just issue out of the blue. I'm like, sure, I'll try that. Like around that same time, I did a couple issues of Wonder Woman, which I think came out well. But I had to fight more to make those images look good and be happy with them and how those pages worked and make sure Diana was beautiful enough in every face shot that I drew, that kind of stuff. Whereas with Wally, I was just like, I don't know, maybe we'll just, yeah, that looks good. Hey, that looks really good. I'm really happy with that, or whatever it was. And that doesn't happen often. Many of the books I'll try, I've got to fight and fight and fight to make it, to get it where I want it to be.
Well, that, you know, I've talked with a few artists in the past that have kind of similar, you know, like where they just can't get into this, either the story or the character is a little bit hard, but you know, it's a job. You still want to do your best, but you know, it's got to feel like, you know, like a walk in the park when you get a character that you feel so comfortable with. Absolutely.
I mean, even Wally and stuff like that was mostly fairly easy for me. To give you a contrast of how things were different, like when I started off, one of my first jobs at Marvel after being a Romita Raider was a Spider-Man inventory story, because of course there's going to be a million of those, so it's going to be an easy job to kind of snag.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man, I was fine at. I was decent in you know, being kind to me as a beginning artist. I was okay at drawing Spider-Man, but then I had to draw those Peter Parker pages. Those were murder. They were absolutely murder for me. I was pulling my hair out, killing myself with that. So much so that by the time, it was only a short story too, like a 10-page, 12-page story, I think. By the time I had finished the story or gotten most of it done, I didn't even take it into the editor. I went into John's office, John Romita, and I was just practically crying, going, please help me, please, please. Peter looks terrible. How do I make him look like Peter Parker? And John was an absolute saint, like he is, but you always hear about it. He took some tracing paper. He said, he looks okay. Then he put some tracing paper over mine. He goes, well, maybe do a little bit of this, that, that. And I'm like, oh, suddenly he looks like Peter Parker. You know, all that kind of stuff.
I hope you saved that tracing paper.
I didn't.
Well,
I should have.
That would have been nice. I've only got one thing from John Romita Sr., and it was something he did on vellum too. You know, just kind of a rough, probably I think it was a cover prelim, but just so neat to see. You know, just his. I mean, he's amazing. Yeah, he was absolutely an incredible artist. So
I had John Romita do that once for me, and then there was an early job that I went into Michael Golden when he was an editor at DC. And in John's case, he wouldn't have cared one whit. I bet you he gave me those roughs, because then I would go back and I tried to adjust my Peter Parker to look like Peter Parker best I could. But when I saw Michael Golden, he did the same thing. I had some Captain America pages, even though I'm showing him into DC Comics. He threw some tracing paper over it, did some lines, this, that, and the other thing, tell me what to do about this and fix that, and let's see how to do this. And I'm going crazy looking at these things, the drawings that he's doing over it. And what does he do next? Crumple, 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 throws it in the trash. I'm like, ah! I'm going to look like such a jerk if I reach in that trash can.
Right.
So
dumpster diving in the DC offices.
Exactly.
Yep. So, you know, out of curiosity, you know, I want to get on with the sale, but out of curiosity, do you feel like you're at that kind of level of, you know, where you could do that for somebody else? You know, the early 20s artist coming to you, you could throw a piece of vellum down and just say, do it like this. It'll be much better.
Yeah. On a lot of things, I probably could. I mean, on certain things, I probably wouldn't feel as comfortable to correct somebody on some of the, like, I don't know, the 90s characters and stuff that I'm not as familiar with. But as far as if it's storytelling or even just general anatomy or stuff like that, or if they're messing with their shadows or something, I could do all that kind of stuff now. And I have at some cons, not that I bring the stuff myself, but I had some fans that they brought in their work to show me, and then they actually brought in like tracing paper and stuff like that over it, so they were fully prepared.
They were ready for
good, and they were like, please just, you know,
good when you're getting started. So I mean, clearly you needed it, you know, at some points, and no, that's smart.
You pass it on.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to get into some of the published stuff now. Although the first piece is a prelim, so it's not published, but let's take a look at lot number 5 from Citizen Cold number 3. It's the prelim for the final page, the end page to the 3-issue arc, right?
Exactly.
So this one's priced at $140. It is on 11 by 17, and you did I mean, interestingly enough, this is done on standard Bristol. It's not done on like a like regular kind of lighter typing paper. So you did this right on DC board.
Yes, during that time, basically DC wasn't being stingy enough. It was soon after this time that they started asking me what I was doing with all this extra paper. I'm like, I'm not doing anything with it. I'm drawing it once on a rough piece of paper, and then I'm finishing it on another. But eventually they got a little bit tired of that. So then I started drawing on regular kind of like typing paper or whatever kind of deal. But yeah, this one and a bunch of others were actually still done on the DC board. And just so everybody understands out there too, one of the reasons that you are just getting this prelim for it is that there are certain projects that there are certain flash pages that I'm going to keep forever and never going to sell. And there's various other projects. And this was one of the few projects I got to write and draw. And I was super proud of what I'd done on this book, so that I have not sold any of the pages of this stuff and probably never will. This and some of the covers that I've done over the years, although I think we have or something here. Those are some things that, either I'm going to die with, or going to put it in my coffin, or my kids are going to get it.
That's great. I mean, I think we all know the stories of the artists who were in there in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, sold a lot of their stuff, and more and more, I think we hear stories about current artists holding on to things, right? Which is a smart thing to do at the end of the day. It's not like you have a retirement plan out there, and keeping pieces, especially ones that mean a great deal to you, is wise. At the end of the day. So that's great. This is a story that you got to both write and draw, and so like you just said, you aren't going to see any originals from this storyline, and while you're still alive. Nope,
they are not going to get out there unless someone finds my address and robs me blind.
Well, we're not going to do that. We're not going to give that away. Let's see here. Frank Robert Johnson wants a preview of what's going on. I'll try to get you the link so you can look at it. Let's see. Let me move on to the next one here. So that's lot 5, priced at $140. Now, here we have a lot number 6. Now this one's a pencil only page.
Correct.
Again, you don't you don't leave anything to chance here. I mean, everything is very clearly defined, even the stuff on the computer screen. So this is the
sound effect.
And the sound effect on there. Yeah, that last panel is pretty cool. So this one's priced at $500 for lot 6. It's from Flash 46 page 8 on 11 by 17, and I think it's on DC board.
Yep.
The DC stuff is on the back side of the board.
Yeah, so a lot during that time I switched to drawing on the back side. It just kept that blue line out of there, so I didn't even have to worry about it when I scanned it in on the computer.
All right. Now, do you lightbox a bit on stuff? I guess you do, because you said that's part of your process with the when you do your full size prelims.
Yep, this all would have been lightboxed and finished. There would have been a prelim, just like you saw for that Citizen Cold page, for this the Flash page 46 for all of these pages. And some of the prelim pages I keep or something like that if I think it's a neat page, or if I think I'm going to use it again, or if it's a big splashy image that I think somewhere down the line I can bring out sometime and someone might be interested in.
I'm sorry, I'm putting a little link in here for.
No, you're fine. The funny thing too here is that on that bottom panel that has the sound effect of the Flash running off, when I was working on Flash the first time with the Jeff Johns run, I didn't have to pencil in the sound effects all so tightly and everything. We had the master letterer Gaspar Saladino working on the book. But that was one of the things that I loved during that time frame, because it was really during there were still plenty of books that were being lettered straight on the board. And I would just give them an indication roughly where I wanted the lettering to be or something like that, or the logo, the title, or even the balloon placements. I would draw in lightly with everything else that was going on in there. And they would finish it off. But I did watch and learn from what Gaspar had done during those times, and different things. And then during these days, I just found that some people, I think it's refreshing when the artist, if they put in their own sound effects and stuff. I know Alan Davis does it, and some other people draw in their own sound effects the way that they like them. And I think it becomes part of a fingerprint of a comic book. So that's why I did it down there.
Well, it's just did a show a couple weeks ago with Dennis Cowan, who said he hated putting in his sound effects.
Really?
He's like, I left that for the letter. I just can't do it. It's just not in my lexicon of talents. And he just was like, nope, can't do it.
Yeah, you got to be into it. And that was one of the things that I wound up doing at the Kubert School. We did have lettering classes, so we worked on all that kind of stuff.
Well, we've got another page from Flash. This next one's from issue 55, page 17. Again, this one's all pencil, but just impressive to see. I mean, even the second to last panel there, all the it's all done in pencil, and again, it's just not what I'm used to seeing when I see the pencil pieces that would end up being inked by people. So this is a fun page. Nice composition. I love Flash, and they're breaking both the first and second panels and going all the way down into the last row like that.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, a lot of this stuff just again with the Flash stuff flows naturally. And I forget exactly how Joshua Williamson would have arranged or talked about how he wanted it, but usually I don't try to break the panels too often, but that one worked out nicely.
I agree. I don't know what those demonic creatures are, but I like it. Looks really good.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Next up, lot 8. Another page from the Flash. Now, this is an earlier page. So this is from Flash 184.
This is the middle of the Jeff Johns run. This is the real stuff.
Yeah, this is inked by you. I didn't. Oh no, Hazelwood, right?
Correct, Doug Hazelwood.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job on this.
Yeah, and he was a surprise too. I had other inkers work on me for the pages I've been working with, and some of the guys I knew and whatnot, and different guys at Marvel. And Doug was another one where Joey Cavalier was the editor, and we ran through a couple ideas of different people to ink, and he brought up Doug, and I hadn't worked with Doug at all, but I said, sure, let's give Doug a try and see how he does on the first issue or so. And he was great. He was from the word go, from the first issue. I thought he was brilliant, and he kept up with my insanity of all those crazy backgrounds or buildings or like all those rivets on girder there or anything else going on. He did it all. He held back nothing. And I had plenty of other inkers that at various times they literally did the old horror story that you worry about of like someone just like blacking out a background. I had that happen. I would have a whole background of there was this one story I did in Legion with the spaceship, and it wasn't a Legion spaceship. It was a different kind of derelict thing, and there were supposed to be pipes and everything in it, like the movie Alien or something like that, or even Star Wars stuff. Tons of gadgetry or whatever in there, and that inker decided he didn't have enough time for that, so he literally would black out hallways from all the pipes and everything that I had drawn.
Well, I'm sure that wasn't what you wanted. I mean, it's not going to represent your, your intent.
No, and all the hard work I put into it. I mean, I understand his point and I understand his constraints of his deadline and everything else. But more to the point wasn't to dodge or to dig on that other inker so much, was the idea that Doug did it all. There were several pages I handed him that were just insanity, even from a penciling standpoint, let alone working it out from inking. I would do these huge down shots of where you'd see the entire city of Keystone or Central City or whichever was going on, or both of them. And Doug did it all. He did it all very, very well. He could handle anything that I threw at him. I mean, sure, my pencils were tight and whatnot, but you could still see I had done other books around that time with other inkers like Thing Freak Show and stuff. And you could still see the voice, the fingerprint of that inker as he was working on all the stuff that they would look a little bit different no matter who it was. I had Dan Panosian ink me and lots of great inkers, but you'd see those subtle differences. And nothing against those other guys. Dan was great as well, but Doug was a really perfect fit for the Flash. Well,
it seems like everybody in the chat feels the same way about that too. And Margaret says she thinks that was Legion 112.
I think you were correct, Margaret.
See, she is a student of the Legion of Superheroes, that's for sure. But that's unfortunate. Of course, there's a few inkers historically who get that rap. Kirby inkers in the past. I think Coletta's did some good work with Kirby, and he did some work where he just decided probably he needed to ink 4 jobs that month rather than 2. Yes. And so corners get cut sometimes, unfortunately. And I mean, and you're right. At the end of the day, the only person that's really going to know that is the penciler and maybe the editor seeing those things happen.
Right.
But yeah, but yeah, Hazelwood definitely, really worked well with you and clearly was committed to your pencils. Let's see here. Detective 545 has asked to claim lots 3 and 4. Thank you, Detective 545.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that. We those were the let's see, the Black Panther and the Flash pieces.
Nice. Right.
All right. Let's see here. So let's take a look at the next lot here, lot number 9. So it's another Flash page, same era. This is from 185, another Hazelwood inked job. Now on this one, I mean, I assume he was, he obviously went back in and did all those, like that. It's not whiteout because there's blue in it, but around the Flash there in that middle panel where he's running. So, I mean, is that stuff that you reference to Doug when you're doing the pencil work, or is that something that he kind of throws in on his own?
Most of that, I mean, he had liberty to play with that stuff as he saw fit too, but a bunch of that stuff would have literally been, he was almost doing it the same way I was drawing it. I would have drawn all those lines in pencil, and then I went back with my eraser and I erased them out. So you'd get that effect, because I found if I tried to draw it that way with those certain interruptions in the line or whatever, you never would get that flow of, to me, what basically a lot of that is inferring either more electricity or the shapes of buildings or objects or whatever that he's passing by. This one's a little more just general, I think, giving a city sort of whatever feel. So I would have erased them. So I think he inked them like I had penciled them and then saw that I had erased it so that he would go back with whiteout. So I think actually a bunch of that is whiteout.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's just there's a blue cast to it. I mean, maybe that came off of the ink potentially, but either way, that's kind of cool because he had to use a straight edge, I'm sure, to put the lines in, and then knew to go back in and add that white effect to it to give it the extra energy there.
Absolutely.
Marcus wants
those Gaspar letters. Oh, so good.
Agreed. Yeah. I let everybody know I'm a Marvel guy at heart, Scott. So, but I told everybody how much I love the Flash movie. I thought, I really, of the DC movies that were out there, it was probably one of my favorite. So,
cool.
So Marcus wants to know if you enjoyed the Flash movie as much as I did.
I did. And in fact, I'll tell you a fun secret was that just recently before this move, I went to a convention in Long Beach, California. And during that weekend, I saw a bunch of friends and stuff that I hadn't seen in a while. But I got in touch with Mr. Johns and told him I was going to be there that weekend. So we actually arranged for when the con was just about done on Sunday. I got a ride and got out to Jeff's house in the California hills and saw his beautiful house and met his beautiful family and all this great stuff. But we stayed up practically all night long, just chit-chatting about stuff and catching up about everything. And one of the things we did at the end was he's got a theater in his house. So then we watched the Flash movie. Now he had seen it before, obviously.
Yeah.
But I hadn't seen it yet at that point. I'd been too busy with everything else I'd been doing. So I hadn't seen it. He goes, "Oh, we got to watch it. Come on." So I got to watch the Flash movie with Jeff Johns, which was great.
That is awesome. Yeah, that's a cool. So you enjoyed it. That's the main thing. You enjoyed it as well.
Sure.
Yeah, I thought it was really well written. And my wife, who's she's one of those people that tells you the end of the story when you're about halfway through it, and you always hate her for it because she's usually 95% of the time right. And then she says why she doesn't like it. But this we got done watching it. She goes, "You want to hear my opinion?" I'm like, "No, not really." She goes, "I loved it." I loved it.
That's great.
That was not what I was expecting because she's more of a DC fan than a Marvel fan too. But she's like, I have no complaints. I loved I didn't mind any. She usually hates anything that has to do with time travel. As a Doctor Who fan, that's a little weird, but it's like she always complains about Star Trek. They're always doing this. They're always doing that. It's not the same. Somebody's possessed. She just goes through all the litany of common tropes and storytelling. For most things. But yeah, she liked it too. So yeah, let's keep this going here. What do we got next? I know, let me see here. I am on, I just had that one and I showed that one. So we're going to lot. Well, actually, I didn't know. You know what? For whatever reason, lot 10 didn't get loaded up here on my my thing here. I'm going to go ahead and show that one. Well, we can show lot 11 since it's on the screen right now, though. This is from Flash Secret Files. It's from issue 3, page 12, priced at $600. So on 11 by 17. And on that one, let's see. Now, the lettering is done on the flash effect there is done with like most of the lettering on here is like a paste up the way they did it. The balloons are all drawn onto the page, and then the text is.
Yep, this was a secret file, so I forget which other letter worked on it. It was another regular letter at that point, and I don't know why particularly his system was to do it that way, but yeah, this whole annual was lettered that way, where it was all paste up. It was not Gaspar, it was somebody else.
Now on this one, inks by you or by?
No, I think that's still Doug.
This is Doug too. Okay, because on the other ones it had his name on it. So this one it does not. But yeah, very nice.
Yeah, you're right. Doug usually wrote his name on the book. I don't know why it's not on that one.
Well, maybe it's on the back.
Yeah, no, that's still Doug.
All right. Well, this one is available at $600. I'm going to switch back and show you everybody lot 10 so you can see that now that I've actually uploaded it into the studio there. This is from Flash 188.
Yep.
And on this one, I assume you probably drew in the sound effects for them.
Again, 188, if that's on the board, and I think it is, that would have been probably one of the last issues that Gaspar lettered himself. Yeah, no, that KRST that's definitely Gaspar's lettering. I probably gave him the placement and the idea of what was going on, and then let him do his magic or whatnot. But I would usually give him the idea of where I wanted it, or the boom. I probably gave him some sort of idea of doing it in that funky way, and thankfully he would stick with it. But he was certainly under no obligation to do anything the way that I wanted to do it. He's the guy who knows. He's the man.
Exactly. No, it's a fantastic page, and again, Hazelwood inks on this thing. It's beautiful.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He did not spare any details in those buildings.
No, see, that's part of my insanity.
And that's what's kind of fun about these too. I mean, there's so many ways to illustrate a comic book, but a lot of times, pencil or an inker do shortcuts, right? There's like no shortcuts here. This is. Every wrinkle, every fold in the clouds are drawn, right? So that's cool.
Exactly. That's my insanity. I don't think this is Panosian for 184. I know Dan did ink some of the end of this Crossfire story, but I don't think he did this one. Well,
Derek WC, he'll be digging through his Rolodex. He's
Yeah, you might catch me on that. I might be wrong, but it's hard to tell. I'd have to have the page in front of me to tell for sure.
All right, so let's take a look at. I showed lot 11. Now lot 12 is a prelim. This is from Secret Files number 3, page 16, and we got this one priced at $400. And yeah, I mean, as a prelim, you put a lot of work into it.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, you could almost think that my prelims are the pencils, and then my finished page, even though it's done in pencil, would have been like the inking process. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I tried to work out as many of the funny things as possible, the perspective, the anatomy, whatever is going on, and then I'll go ahead and finish it on the final one. Especially things like that Keystone police patch on Shire's shoulder, stuff like that. Or those crazy gun things or whatever. I want to make sure I figure all that stuff out beforehand. I've never been one of those guys that you see out there that can like take a nearly blank page and just start drawing the thing. You hear about these stories of George Perez or Jack Kirby or whatever, Bernie Wrightson or those kind of guys that could just look at a blank page for a while. Yeah, and then they just start drawing like it's a finished piece.
Well, even if that's the case, when people do storyboards or prelims, like this, typically it's not going to be on 11 by 17. They might be doing, they do 4 pieces on an 11 by 17, right? Even I've seen see color prelim or cover prelims done like that, right? Art Adams will draw 4 on a single 11 by 17 quite frequently. I think you see, because you see those pieces in the aftermarket, right, where he's working through that. But yeah, I can't say that I've seen 11 by 17 prelims before, so it's cool. Let's see here. We have how does Ironclad get his hair so curly? I don't think that Scott can answer that one.
That guy's name is Girder, not Ironclad. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think the attitude at the time was that he's just made out of these rivets and different things. So I always thought it was just coils of wire.
See there, that makes a whole lot of sense. Mr. Reject loved the Murmur character. I always thought the Murmur character was very disturbing in their own way.
Hugely disturbing. He was an uber violent character especially being in a Flash comic book. I wasn't used to that at all. That was one of Jeff's. That was one of his little fun things that he brought in, that he wanted something different. He was usually working within the Flash book that it was fairly classic with a lot of things we did, because we'd always go back to the Rogues with Captain Cold or all of those guys. But then he brought in a couple of these new characters, and he really went for something new on a bunch of them, like Tar Pit, like Murmur, stuff like that really I hadn't seen in a Flash book before anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have this one out there, $400, lot 12, and next up, lot 13. So another prelim. This is from Flash 8, page 14 on 11 by 17, priced at $200. And now with stuff like this, are these pieces that you're holding on to the original?
Yeah, more than likely. It's possible that I would have given one of these pages to Jeff. This on Flash 8 would have been during a Jeff Johns' run of this is just preceding Flashpoint. That's what this is. This was right after Flash Rebirth, and he had started the Flash book over again. There was a bunch of stuff I did during that time with him, backup stories and other things, and I helped finish the series before it went to the Flashpoint crossover. And this was a lot of stuff we were dealing with Zoom, and I forget which. This is just part of a backup story, I think. But anyway, I might have the actual pages themselves around, or some of these I think I might have given to Jeff.
Well, that's nice. Do the writers ask, or do you just feel like you got to give them some pieces to remember the run?
Usually they don't ask, but there've been a couple of times where, I mean, as a newbie, I never think of one of those things. It took me a while to get around that point of, I never thought anybody would really want my stuff. The writers wouldn't necessarily ask for, or whatever, that I just wouldn't think of myself in that fashion of giving my artwork to a fellow coworker. But once, I think Jeff was one of the first guys I gave stuff to. Once I gave it to him and I saw, how nice he was about it and how thankful he was about this, that, I'm like, oh, I guess that I should do more of that. I shouldn't be so stingy with these things. I gotta give myself credit that, if they're happy enough to be working with me in the first place, that they actually probably do like my work and they'd probably love a piece.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, if it was hanging in the movie room, then they loved it.
He showed me it wasn't this one, but I had forgotten. He showed me some of the pieces. He showed me his collection of artwork that he's collected over these years now. And a couple of them he surprised me with that I had completely forgotten in fact, there was one, we must have just finished like Thing Freak Show or something around that time, but I drew him a thing that says happy birthday on it. I must have done it for his birthday sometime. And I had no memory of drawing it at all. I mean, once I saw it, I went, oh yeah, cool. But if somebody would ask me if I'd ever done that, I would have said, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we have lot 13 out there. That's as a prelim to Flash 8. Yeah. And here's one of the covers that we've got today for lot 14. This is what year was this? I don't think
this is very recent. This is a prelim, or this is the cover for the movie adaptation.
Right.
That was done. That was in Target or whatever, different things.
The Target. Yeah, that's right. These were from now I do remember reading about that and seeing it when I was looking up the actual printed version of this. So this one's priced at $1,600. It is the most expensive piece we have today. 11 by 17. And, you know, when you're doing something like this for, I mean, did you know going into it how, you know, it was like the target version and it was going to be used in conjunction with the movie? I mean, what kind of a heads up did you get going into that?
Well, you'll see on the top that I just wrote that it was a variant. That's what I thought it was at the time. I did some other books, some other covers at that time that were variants, so maybe I just mixed it up. I don't remember being told that it was going to be a Target thing or anything like that, but I knew it was a variant cover or something for the adaptation of the movie, because then this is the only one that I've done where they sent me reference material of the photographs of the body shots of the actor with the costume on, and here's a close-up of the glove, and here are 3 different shots, a close-up of the boot, and that kind of thing.
Sure.
So this is the only one that I've drawn that was actually supposed to be the official version of his movie costume. So you'll see the gloves and the armbands and different things are a little bit different than any other time that I've drawn them for any of the comics.
Very nice. And so this is priced at $1,600, lot number 14. And we'll take a look at, now I do have another prelim. This is a cover prelim here for lot 15. This is from Justice League 3001, priced at $200. It's on 11 by 17. Now this one is on kind of a lighter paper. It's not on the Bristol. I guess DC wanted they're being a little more stingy on the Bristol.
Right. By this point, yeah, I wasn't getting to use 2 pages for 1 page of artwork. In fact, I just posted the another image of this that I found. I just posted this the other day because, as all of you should be aware, I guess by this point, that Mr. Keith Giffen has passed on from this world. And this was one of the fun books that I worked on with Keith. And I put it up on my Facebook or whatever thing recently, a little bit of memoriam. I had such a absolutely fantastic time working with Keith. He was an absolute blast. He was creatively fun. He was a genius, like everybody says, all these great things. So yeah, looking at the cover and looking at the prelim, I didn't even know when I sent you the prelim, of course, that was going to turn into this time frame that the Keith had just passed by just this last week.
I know. I mean, so many people wrote, glowing, comments about their time with Keith. I mean, everybody, just what a creative gentleman he was. I never got to meet him. I mean, I saw him at shows, and he's just one of those guys I figured I'd get to see and talk to, just to get an experience with him. But I never did, and now I'll always regret that. But he was a guy that, like I told you, I wasn't a DC guy, but when he was working on Legion, just those covers sucked me in. I mean, I was an X-Men fan. I think the team book it probably helped, but just seeing his approach to his cover work was just so unlike, any other artists that were out there. Even there's just nobody can compare him to. I just loved his work, and nobody drew Kirby Crackle like he did. You could tell his crackle anywhere. So just an amazing, gentleman, and somebody who I've never picked up any artwork from. And it's unfortunate that we won't have the opportunity to get any new works from him.
I know. I mean, in the last years after we worked on Blue Beetle, he really was mostly retired. He didn't do much more for DC after that point, or even online. He talked about at different points doing like a web comic or something like that too. I think he did like two more things with Mark DeMatteis, but I'm very blessed with the various people that I've already named that I've, either gotten to learn from or people that I've worked with and stuff like that. And Keith definitely belongs around the top of that list with other guys. I worked with him off and on for about 4 years, I think. And he was just brilliant. And he was also, extremely professional about working with stuff, even though I know that people think of him as a hothead and all these other things going on. And, he was certainly opinionated. But I mean, during any of these books, during these times, without giving away too much, Keith was a bit of an older guy. He'd already had some medical situations. And I'm telling you right now, no matter the medical situation that this man was going through at the time, at his age or whatever was going on, he would take no time hardly, and that he would take off from that, besides, maybe the doctor's visit or something like that. I mean, even from some of these situations, we would talk on the phone. He goes, I know you need pages. I know we have a deadline to get this book done. Here, let's talk through the first 3 pages. He was just an absolute mensch. He was super dedicated, and he'd never wanted to let anybody down who was working on a book with him.
Well, definitely an incredible guy. And I think we're going to be talking about him for a while, now that we don't have him, with us anymore. But he's a well-collected artist on CAF too. As somebody who I know everybody really loved his work. And yeah, I'm sorry for your loss, Scott. I mean, but I'm sure you're grateful for the time you got to spend with him.
Yeah, I am intensely grateful for all that. Thank you.
So slot 15, we'll take a look at lot 16 next. This is a all pencil piece from Kid Flash, Flashpoint. This one's priced at $400 from issue 3, page 16. And again, it's, you don't need to ink it when you when you pencil it like this.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much done. I mean, when I had to any of these pages now that during all those years where I was penciling it just like this and it was done, when I scanned it in the computer, it was just a matter of making sure that the scanner kept up with the quality of things and the line work or whatnot. To double check to make sure everything was as clean and readable and crisp as possible, and making sure borders or whatnot were handled well. But yeah, other than that, that's the way that I did the stuff. It was all there.
That's very nice. I even like the coloring on this one. A lot of times when I see the coloring, I'm like, I like the original better,
Right.
But no, this one's well done. Let's see, lot 17. Now this is the only, we were talking about King Shark earlier, so this is the only King Shark page that we have.
Right.
But this is from issue 3. It's page 6 on 11 by 17, and it's priced at $350. It is on DC board on the back.
Right.
So, but yeah, this is the one where it's like, wait a minute, I just looked at 2 pencil pieces, and I got to this one. I'm thinking, did he really do this? And I'm like, okay, no.
The Faber-Castell, the pen markers, the ink pen markers. Yeah, so this one's actually a little more traditional than a lot of my other stuff.
Yeah, that's I love that first image. I had to find the color image. I wanted to see what was going on. Because like this is probably not a situation they wanted to be in.
No, and one of the funny things to me about it is I've run into situations where I've had to do this before, almost not necessarily a shark man, but other people or other giant beings or something like that, screaming at other people or doing these, very exaggerated emotional moments or whatnot. Excuse me, but Tim was great here. He had me do this a couple times, and he was usually screaming at this woman. And I love the fact that the other panels that I had with her after this, or the other times when he was screaming at her, that she would be like shell shocked afterward, because I know that I would have filled my pants after being screamed at by a shark, an 8-foot shark right next to me, right in my face, screaming like that. Holy mackerel! I'd probably be on a fast track to the hospital myself. So half the fun wasn't even just during the screaming, but those other panels on the bottom where she's holding herself just shaking, because it'd be like a bomb going off next to you.
It would be, definitely. So lot 17, priced at $350 from Suicide Squad King Shark 3. And let's go to lot 18. Now we're going over to some Marvel stuff, right? So we have Earth's Mightiest Heroes 8, page 10. Now this is pencils.
Correct.
Only on the page. This is again issue 8, page 10, priced at $500. And I mean, again, it's just not what you're used to seeing. Seeing a fully rendered pencil piece like that. Because a lot of times, I mean, there's some pencils out there that that where people did all the inks digitally, but in a lot of cases with those, you'd still see they're more lighter. At least the people that several of the artists that I can think of that where they work from the pencils to do the digital inking, they don't put such stark line work in here, but yeah, again, you don't leave. There's no mistaking what you're doing here.
No, and definitely by this point, this was around the turning point of Earth's Mightiest Heroes and some of the Avengers stuff. When I knew I had a deal with Marvel where I was getting paid a slightly different penciling rate. They called it enhanced pencils or something at the time. That was supposed to kind of equate out for the idea that it wasn't going to get traditionally inked, that we were just going to do it off of the scan of the pencils, and then it was going to go to the colorist. So I knew by this point that every line I was putting down had to be a strong line. It had to be down there, clear, and all basically finished like you're talking about. So that when in the scanner, at first they were scanning the pages, and then I didn't like how they were scanning the pages, so I bought a scanner. But it had to be basically almost photo ready when I was scanning it then, that I knew that I wanted it, pretty much all done that way by hand as much as possible. And then I'd only have to do minor things to it on the inking or, finishing side on the computer itself. Like in those Earth's Mightiest Heroes, I would put in a black background behind the panels, stuff like that. I would do digitally.
Interesting. So lot 19 is also from Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Issue 8, page 22. So it's the end page on that. This one's priced at $400. And again, same thing. But that's interesting that they also, they knew going into it to kind of adjust your rate based on the work that you were doing. I mean, it wouldn't have been fair to like cut out the, the inkers, what an inker would normally, or a finisher would normally get from working on a page with you doing all the work that ends up being the thing that, they're really working from. So that's cool that they did that.
Yeah, actually, it was a really supposed to be a nice system too, where I was told that I wasn't getting like a full inking rate on any of this stuff for the Avengers or the Marvel work at this time. But what they told me they were going to do was that I would get like half of the inking rate because they were finished as pencils. And then they were going to give the other half of that inking rate to the colorist, because my stuff is sitting here completely open. So any colorist that was working on my stuff, and I've had colorists in the past that would turn down the jobs because there is so much extra work in some ways for the colorists to do. Some really got excited by the challenge and everything. And the guys that worked here on Earth's Mightiest Heroes were some of those guys that really stepped up to the challenge. Some other Avengers work was okay in the coloring, but editorially and for myself, both of us got really happy around this time of Earth's Mightiest Heroes. We thought it was Will Quintana and I'm going to blank on his name now. The guy who did the first 2 issues, and then Will took it over. I'm not going to remember his name. He's another Kubert student, as it turns out. He wasn't in my year or anything. He went a couple years, I think, after me. Hopefully, I'll remember before our show's over. But he started the work on this thing, and I thought his color work on it was really tremendous.
No, let's see. You got a hey Scott from someone named Devil Flyer Momentum. So,
hey back.
Well, let's see. I got a couple more Marvel pieces here. So lot 20 is next. That's and 21 is going to be a Marvel team up page as well. So this is from issue 6, page 6, and you get Cap, Black Widow. You got Nick Fury as well, and a fun page for $400. Lots of detail crammed in this one as well.
And Mr. Fantastic on the screen.
I think that's Mr. Fantastic.
It's loaded.
Yeah, this is again. I love it. I think it's a great page.
And this was fun working with Marvel Kirkman on this Marvel Team Up series for I think the 10 issues I did. That was another one of those funny instances, like me working on that Kirby project where things would come and go and come and go. I was told, I think after issue 6, that Team Up was not doing what Marvel wanted it to do, so they were going to cancel. Yes, you are correct, Derek WC. Maury Hollowell was the colorist on the first 2 issues of Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Thank you so much. Maury did a tremendous job starting off with that series, and then Will saw the rest of it through and was able to keep it on schedule and everything, do a great job. But on this Marvel Team Up stuff, around issue 6, I think it was, the editor, I think it was Tom Brevoort, told me that it was going to get canceled or something was going to happen. So then I was under contract and I said, okay, well, that's too bad. Well, let me know what the next options are of stuff to work on for when this is over. And Tom started throwing some stuff out at me, one of which was Thor Blood Oath. And as it turned out, every time I turned around the next month, Robert would call me up and say, "Hey, we're not canceled yet. Now we've got to issue 8 or whatever it was." And I go, "Okay, great. I'll keep going as long as, we can or whatnot." And I kept going, and we got to issue 10. And he kept apparently talking Marvel into not canceling the book or keeping it going and finishing the story he wanted to finish. But somewhere around there, I forget if it was 10 or 12 I made it to. Somewhere around there. And again, I kept being told that the book was being canceled, whatnot, to move on. And then this Thor Blood Oath, the project started, and I needed the deadline was starting. So I had to get started on that book. But as it turned out, it was a funny, weird situation that none of us were actually that happy about. Robert kept the book going till I think issue 18 or something, issue 20, way longer than whatever I was told. So it was a sad thing that I wound up leaving the book before it was done.
Well, I mean, with schedules and things, I'm sure that unfortunately happens where you don't get to see a book all the way through its run. So let's see. Lot 21 is up next. Again, this one's for Marvel Team Up, but you had to draw Spidey in here, and he's shirtless. Right? What's Peter doing in there? And then you got lots of bricks in this one. This lots of fun details in this Team Up page, priced at $350. So,
and by this point, I think I had learned finally how to do a decent Peter Parker and Mary Jane. But that was years in the making.
Yes, I mean, this is it's a different kind of scene. Not a lot of not the action scene, but I mean, this is what it was like hanging around at Peter's apartment.
Yeah, and that was another thing that Robert was big into when we were doing this stuff, because there's a bunch of different scenes here that Spider-Man pretty much runs through most of the issues of the Marvel Team Up that we had. I think Wolverine would come and go a lot, but he really loved the idea that he got to write Spider-Man stuff. So we were always doing a bunch of that, and he loved having the pages in between the action or after the action or whatnot. That he was a married man at that point, coming home to Mary Jane, but he very much wanted them to be a young, kind of frisky couple. There were a bunch of different scenes where they would start kissing and then fall out of the panel as they kept kissing, stuff like that, which was a lot of fun. I thought that was great.
Very true. Very fun. So lot 21 still available. Let's see what we got here for 22. This is one you kind of alluded to earlier. This is from Wolverine 57, page 5, priced at $600. And so this one's done, unlike all the other finished pieces that we've looked at, where the line is crisp. You're really doing very finished illustration work here with this.
This one is very different for a couple different things, but yes, this was the beginning, around the beginning of my tonal projects. This was just after I had finished or close to finish Omega Flight. And this is one of those things where, things come and go, things change, opinions change, all these different things. This is not actually from the published version of Wolverine 57, page 5. I was given an arc on Wolverine for after Omega Flight, and everybody at the time when I started the project was all super excited about this tonal style, which started off as a complete experiment on Omega Flight. I had done one cover image, I think it was the third cover of Guardian or whatever he was called at that time, with the tonal style. When I saw the cover image, I just saw it that way, with smoke and lots of gray tones and stuff to it and all that blending. And I went, okay, I'll try this. Let me see what Marvel thinks. And I sent it into them, and they were all extremely happy with it. And they said, can you do the whole series of Omega Flight that way? Mm-hmm. I said, sure, we can work that out. And I did the whole series that way. So then I was doing this Wolverine stuff afterward, and I can't tell you exactly why the wind changed or whatever it was, but I got about 11 pages in this issue where I thought everything was hunky-dory. And then they decided to not do the series this way. And in fact, they wanted to put me on something else, or something was going on. So these pages never got published. I did not finish the rest of this Wolverine issue, or the 3 or 4 issues or whatever it was that I was supposed to do as an arc. So these turned into kind of a purely weird chance experimental thing of, these never got published. So when you find these, or when I have these pages out or whatever, there's going to be very few of these ever on the market, because I never did Wolverine again really this way ever. I think I did a one shot around this time, but I did that in a more traditional line style. So this is a different, almost a one of a kind scenario that you'd find here for this artwork.
Very cool. I did not realize it was unpublished. I would have noted it on the slide. But no, very cool. Well, and we had all those with the Andy Kubert, pencil versions that were colored from that. I mean, maybe they were thinking one way, shift another, but no, this would have been cool if you would have been able to have this published in this style.
And then for anybody asking about what's going on here on the page, this is Wolverine during World War I. So he's in Europe, and that's where you kind of see the Huns coming through the mustard gas or whatnot. That's what we're dealing with on this page, is that he and all of his fellow soldiers were just poisoned. But of course it's Wolverine, so he survives.
Yeah, nope, nothing can kill Wolverine. Yep. That's why he's like my second or third favorite X-Men. So let's see, we got two more pieces here, and these are DC pieces. We're switching back over to that. We have a Superman Batman annual #2 page. This is page 33, priced at $400, all pencil. Yep. As you can tell from the scan. And yeah, really nice. And what I should take lessons from you on how to scan pencils, because whenever I scan pencils with my scanner here, I never get the details like you're getting. I'm gonna have to try a test off of this page. This would be a good one to see if I could get it as nice as the scan that you gave me.
Sure. This was also a really fun annual to work on. I want to say this was Joe Kelly was writing, but it was a nice long story, like at least 32 or maybe even 64 pages or something like that, where not only got Batman and Superman and all these different things going on, but Dick Grayson Robin was in there. It was a times past kind of a story, and there was a neat setup here where the villain that you see on this page, this is toward the end when we're that was his 33. I think that was maybe it was only 40 pages. Anyway, this bad guy was able to steal Superman's power. So for a bunch of the story, in fact, I think that's Bruce Wayne in the first panel who's having a heart attack or something. A bunch of this story, Superman has to learn how to fight and do things from Bruce Wayne. Because he doesn't have any superpowers. He can't fly and he can't do things because the bad guy stole his powers or something like that. A little bit of a vampiric bad guy or whatever. He was fun to draw. I love drawing monsters and anything like that.
Well, 'tis the season too. So it's,
right, exactly.
So we got one more piece to look at. This is a cover, and this was the one when I opened it up, I was like, I did not get a scan of this piece. So this is the cover boy to Superboy Man of Tomorrow issue 5. It's on 11x17, priced at $800. And I love the broken city in the background. I mean, it's colored a little different, but in the line art, it's just so, you've got these buildings in a heap. Let alone all the characters heaped around,
bending and twisting and all broken about. Yeah, it's my chance to kind of do kind of an Akira thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true.
Yeah, and this is one of the most, that might be the most recent piece of art that's in all of these choices. This was only just done this last fall or summer. Actually, it's springtime is when it was. Yeah, that's when it was. Just this last spring. And then just published a month ago or something like that, real recently. But a fun piece because I had done a Superman variant previous to this. And it had Superman, and they asked me to draw a whole litany of the Superman villains below him, like he was about to get into a big fight with all of them. Mm-hmm. And then we went through a couple different ideas for this cover. The last idea that we came across, I forget if it was mine or the editor's idea. I think it was the editor's idea in this one, where he said, well, what if we do Superboy where it was like the Superman one, except that it's Superman or Superboy, and he finished the fight with all of those same villains. So I was like, okay, that's fine. That's a great cover. So then I just got to draw a lot of these same villains unconscious at Superboy's feet. Although I think I even added a few more that weren't in the other one, like the Legion of Doom's Toyman version over there, and that Brainiac head that's on the right-hand side, stuff like that. I don't think those guys were in the Superman cover, but Parasite was there, and the Lex Luthor and Bizarro and stuff like that, and even Mxyzptlk, I think, was in the other cover. So anyway, it's fun stuff.
Yeah, he's missing a tooth. That was the first thing that jumped out at me was the missing tooth on him.
I don't know why that. I usually don't do necessarily that kind of level of violence when somebody's fighting a scene, or even when the scene's over. But for some reason, I really enjoyed just beating up that little imp character. He's got a puffy eye, a big black eye too, and then he's missing a tooth. I think I might have given him the worst damage out of anybody on the cover.
Well, he's got all his hair. At least that he's got that going for him.
Well, sure, and a snap of his fingers, and he'll be fine in a second anyway.
Right, of course. So that was lot 24, still available as well at $800. So I wasn't sure what we were going to get with a show going up against New York Comic Con, Scott, but I can tell you that we send out a mailing tomorrow with any of the pieces that are unsold. So anybody who's watching this show after the fact, and I have a feeling we'll probably have a lot of people doing that.
Sure.
You've seen the pieces that didn't sell. The only two lots that we did sell today were 3 and 4 from that was the Black Panther and the Flash piece.
Right. Although we have Detective 545 says he wants to claim number 24.
Oh, I was just looking at the other thing here, and we get some other ones. See, this always happens. I don't have to. It makes my recap much easier. So
they want to see everything before they decide.
Yes, exactly. So we got Detective 545 as well. Mr. Red Jack, nice. Brian is a regular in our chat. So Mr. Red Jack taking 6 and 7. Thank you. We appreciate that. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of show all the pieces one last time to give everybody a good idea of what's still available. Yep. And just remember, everybody, you're going to email me, Bill at Comic Art Fans, after the show is over. And it's always good, include your mailing address when you do that too. It's always helpful, so I don't have to go back and ask that. And if you're already set on how you wanted to handle the payment, let me know that as well, because then I can give you my Venmo or my Zelle information, et cetera, et cetera. And the more information I have on that first email, the better. So let me drop that, and we'll go back and take a look at the pieces still available. So we've got lot number 1. That was the Dr. Doom head sketch for $120 on 9x12. And we also have the Scarlet Witch head sketch on 9x12 for $120 as well. Then we go over to lot 5. That was the prelim to the end page to Citizen Cold issue 3. And as Scott mentioned, you're not going to get any of the originals from all 3 books of this series because he wrote and drew them. So prelims are all that will ever be available. Yep. And this one is available at $140. So let's see, lot 6 and 7 went to Mr. Red Jack. So we've got lot 8 here. This is from Flash 184. This one's at $700. Then lot
what was 6 and 7? I forgot.
6 and 7. Let me highlight those. That was the Flash 46 page that was all pencil, and also the Flash 55 page that was all pencil.
Gotcha. Cool.
Let's see. So 9 was available at $1,200 from Flash 185. We've also got lot 10, 188, and this is at $800. These are inked. Then we have, lot 11 from Flash Secret Files number 3, page 12, priced at $600. And a prelim from Flash Secret Files issue 3, page 16 on 11x17, priced at $400. And we've got Flash 8, page 11. This is a prelim as well on 11x17, priced at $200. The original might be hanging in Jeff John's home, for all we know.
You're right.
We also have the cover to the movie adaptation of The Flash. This is the title on the book was Flash Fastest Man Alive, I think. And this is issue 3 cover, one of the Target sets that went out there. This one's priced at $1,600. And we got prelim to Justice League 3001, issue 1. This one was for $200, and it was on bond paper on 11x17. We've got lot 16. This is all pencil from Flashpoint Kid Flash issue 3, priced at $400. We have lot 17, Suicide Squad, King Shark, number 3, page 6, priced at $350. And this was with the Pentel marker pens on 11 by 17. And then we go over to Marvel here, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, issue 8, page 10, priced at $500. And also from that same issue, lot 19, this is the end page to issue 8, priced at $400 on 11 by 17. And we've got the Marvel Team Up page. This is from issue 6, page 6. You got Mr. Fantastic, Nick Fury, Cap, and Black Widow all on there. It's only missing Hawkeye, I think. Would have rounded the page out a little bit more, but he wasn't written in the story apparently.
I should have put him in anyway.
Could have put his bow, his quiver, and his arrows in the corner. So this was priced at $400, and then priced at $350. Lot 21. That's the Marvel Team Up 7, page 6, page on 11 by 17, and it's lot 21. A quiet moment in the Parker residence.
Right.
Then we have that Wolverine page we were just talking about. It's unpublished, but it was going to be for issue 57, page 5. This one's priced at $600. Just a cool change of style here from Scott. And last but not least, lot 23, Superman Batman Annual number 2, page 33, priced at $400. All pencils on this one. So you had Robin and Superman in this one. And there you have it. So anybody watching the show afterwards, feel free, hit me up with an email. I do post these into the CAF classifieds, and I'll probably do that later on this evening to kind of get it out there through the Comic Art Fans site. That gets it pushed out to all the premium members on there as well. So we will, we'll get that out there. So the sooner you email me about something, the better. I can set it aside. We can talk about it. And as everybody was mentioning in the chat, we know Mr. Barucci is going to be emailing me one way or another. He probably won't email me till Monday, so everybody has a chance to get in there before Nick he's able to recover from being at New York Comic Con. But Flash is his number one character. So there you have it. But Scott, this was fun, man. I'm sorry we got our signals crossed on the start time today. That's probably my fault more than anything. I mean,
no, that's all me. I'm terrible at setting up times. Which time zone?
Well, we won't mess that up the next time we do one of these. But again, this was fun, and I do hope we get to do another one of these. We've got a lot going on in the schedule, but probably maybe like February, March can have you come back on. But I'll keep you posted on how things go with the sale. But again, this is great. I mean, it's always fun to talk with somebody who's been in the business for 30 years and has had the experiences that you have. And again, you're the first Ramita Raider that I have ever spoken with. So, I mean, that in and of itself was worth the conversation today to find that out. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bill. I had a great time.
All right. Well, listen, everybody, we appreciate you hanging out with us today, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. We know it's a Saturday. There's lots of other things to do around the house, so hanging out with us was great. We had over 60 people watching us live at this peak, so we sincerely appreciate the attention. And again, Scott, as far as the other show, is there any other things that you have coming up that you wanted to promote or let anybody know about as far as projects or art sales? I guess that would be, anything that we can talk about to spread the word.
I do have a new creator-owned book. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about it yet or not.
Are you crowdfunding it? Is that something that we should be looking forward to?
No, actually, that's we're not doing the crowdfunding on this one. It's through Dark Horse that I've worked for a bunch of different times, and it's a horror book that I've wanted to do actually for like 20 years or more. And since a buddy of mine was working with him, I wanted talking with the same writer. And he and I have talked about forever about working together. We just never have. James Robinson.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Love his work.
And he had an idea of what this horror book that he wanted to do that was very related to what I wanted to do. So we kind of meshed the two ideas together. I'm in the middle of the second issue right now. We'll probably be announcing it soon. I wanted to hang back because James was doing another book right now with my other friend. So we were letting, I think, this weekend be their weekend to announce their book and do all their things. But we will announce mine soon. It's again a very different style of artwork than you haven't seen from me before. It is more fully inked. but it is a full-on horror book. So
Mhm.
I'm going crazy with the shadows and all sorts of spooky things and whatnot to do with it. And I am coloring this one myself, which is a rare treat for me too.
Cool.
Yeah, and it should be out. If you follow me on any of the social media, you'll hear all about it soon. And it should be out, I think, next summer, something like that.
Okay.
But it'll be from Dark Horse Comics. And I'm having an absolute blast working on it. When I love working on the creative books that I've worked on already, my Adam .3 and Pastaways with Matt Kint. And it really seems like this is going to be more the future of what I'm doing right now. This is just where I'm having the most fun, and it's got the most opportunity with it.
That's great. Well, congratulations. If there's any PR that I can do for you when it's coming out, or anything that we can tease on the site, I'd be happy to run any news items I could for you.
That'd be awesome. I appreciate that so much. Thank you, Bill.
Oh, you're very welcome. All right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you sometime next week with some programming that I can't even remember what we'll be doing, but I'll probably.
Margaret also asked about the Comic Art Live. Do we need to?
Oh yeah, well, yeah. Well, you don't go. You stay here.
I'll turn the
show off and we'll talk for a few minutes. Yeah, I'll let you know about that.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.